I'm going to be speaking candidly about this next topic because I almost feel a little bit wrong bringing it up, but I do think that since I do cover all things when it comes to the RPGs and Nintendo and of course Xenoblade, we've got to discuss what someone is saying about Xenoblade Chronicles X and when we could see it on the Nintendo Switch and even the next Nintendo system. So we're going to talk about that and some other big news with RPGs, gaming, and more. Before we get into that, what's good, everyone? OJ here. Welcome back to another video. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, and click that notification bell to get the best Nintendo Switch RPG news and more on YouTube. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into what we're going to be talking about with Xenoblade Chronicles X. So, Ryan from the Bronx. This is pretty much Midori. You guys remember the whole Midori saga? The person who was leaking stuff and basically stepped on a little bit too many toes, but this person was not who they said that they were. They were already someone who kind of got excommunicated for doing really weird things, stealing information from Sega, whatever the case is, right? So essentially, they were outed for faking to be a Japanese girl. It's just some dude, you know, from America overall. So there was that whole saga that went down. So essentially, they went away, you know, and now they're kind of back. Ryan from the Bronx, that's their account. And this person is stating that Xenoblade Chronicles X port for Switch will be released next year. He put that out there on Twitter. He's also leaking some other things, some information and gameplay that absolutely seems accurate overall, but he's just firing off so many tweets. I think that there's something wrong. I think that there is a mix of stolen information, potentially a mix of conjecture, a mix of speculation and information that is actually accurate overall. So it's kind of hard to get a grasp, especially of where someone's mental is after that whole blow up with the whole Midori thing and everything. That type of thing can absolutely warp your psyche, in my opinion. So I don't know where the headspace is at, but I do want to talk about what he had to say here. So on Twitter, it essentially just says exactly what I told you guys. Xenoblade Chronicles X port for Switch will be released next year. He also follows that up by saying they're not skipping to Xenoblade 4. This port was also made with Switch 1 hardware in mind, but will also be compatible with Switch 2. So what that means, and I think also it follows up with what I wanted to make another video on Xenoblade 4 and what they're going to do. Luxon made a video on that, so I'll probably talk about that at another time. But essentially, what he's saying is that, hey, this isn't some type of substitute or skipping straight to this. They're still making the next Xenoblade game. It's still happening. This is just something that's happening as well, and you're going to have it on the Nintendo Switch, and then backwards compatibility, Switch 2, maybe there's upgrades, whatever the case is, right? So I think that that is something that we've spoke on this channel about multiple times. I've discussed this probably in the last number of months since last year, the Nintendo Direct, like, hey, is this the final chance for Xenoblade Chronicles X? And then I talked about it again recently. This has been an ongoing saga now for, I would say, about 5-6 years now. Ever since Takahashi talked about how it'd be too expensive to get the port onto the Nintendo Switch because everybody was asking for the port. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think that it's very possible that Nintendo still has a few more big Switch games that are going to be coming out that will be compatible with Switch 2 as well. There's still a number of Wii U games that are on that platform. There's a number of 3DS games that are on the 3DS that have just basically been stuck on those platforms. And now that the eShops are closed down, there's really no way to access them normally through Nintendo. So I think Nintendo absolutely has to do something about getting a lot of those games that were stuck on the Wii U and 3DS over to modern platforms, because there's no reason to have those quality of games, stuff like A Link Between Worlds, stuff like Xenoblade Chronicles X, games like that stuck on those older platforms when you can make a lot of money and you can sell those on a newer platform. I think also it's a valuable lesson for Nintendo, man, and really for every company, but for Nintendo especially because they've done this so many times. You've got to build in mind, like, your systems, you got to build them in mind that you can be able to easily take them over to the next thing. Like, I don't think you should be building systems with the mindset of it's going to be stuck on this platform. Your storefronts, your games, whatever the case is, that needs to be able to be migrated over some way, some shape, form, how, whatever the case is. Like, I get it, different architectures, different time periods, different development. Like, I completely get that. I'm not sitting there and saying that it would have been feasible with the Nintendo 3DS, which they were developing or planning back in like the late 2000s or something like that, right? Or the mid 2000s. Like, I get that, but going forward, especially with the Nintendo Switch to now the Switch 2, you've got to think about that to where you're going to be able to have access to that legacy content a lot easier or better than before. It's one of the reasons why people love PC gaming. Pretty much you have access to most of the games. Now, some stuff might not work because of how old it is, but for the most part, you'll find people who can easily adapt that or at least download patches or whatever. So people love that to where your library is your library for like life, right? For as long as you have that account. So they need to figure out that because it's just happened way too many times. And I think that it's now time to put a stop to that. But we're going to see what's going to happen here. I would be very excited to see Xenoblade Chronicles X for the Nintendo Switch and for Switch 2 upgrades. I've talked about the possibilities of this multiple times to where we could see games released late on the Nintendo Switch or even dual release between Switch and Nintendo Switch 2, and you'll find them on both. Now let's go ahead and move on to another pretty big rumor here, and that is Toys for Bob. Could they be teasing the next Spyro game? Shout outs to My Nintendo News for the beat on this one. So developer Toys for Bob have revamped their official website with Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon center pieces. The company has also updated their recent game section, which includes a new tile for an unannounced project that uses Spyro-themed purple, much like most of the website. While the Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon franchises are now owned by Microsoft, Toys for Bob have stated that they are working on a game with Microsoft, so it's not a stretch to think that they could be collaborating on a brand new Spyro game, and they could be releasing it on all platforms. Now let's just hope that we get something from Spyro the Dragon Toys for Bob. They did a great job with that remasters and what they've done before in the past. They are fantastic, and I think that one of the reasons why they wanted to break apart from Microsoft in order to be like their own is because I don't think, if you're talking about exclusivity, right, obviously Microsoft is not the I would say place to release when it comes to platformers, right? That's not going to be the place where you're going to get the most sales. Everything's going to launch in Game Pass if it's first party. So for them as a company and getting certain things greenlit and wanting to work on projects, I don't think being underneath the Microsoft branch is the best thing for them. Now, that might work for other companies when it comes to certain type of games, but for Toys for Bob, no, not really. Working under Microsoft probably won't be the best. Now, working with them and having an agreement in place to already do multi-platform development for a game, that makes way more sense. Now, Microsoft, I don't think they necessarily care in terms of they feel that Spyro or Crash are going to be some type of centerpieces for the Xbox platform to push console sales or anything. I don't think Microsoft thinks that at all. I think they're more than willing to do multi-platform, just as they're more than willing to do multi-platform with bigger stuff like Indiana Jones and Doom the Dark Ages and all these other games that are going multi-platform at this point. But I think for sure from the beginning, they knew that stuff like Crash and stuff like Spyro probably wasn't going to fly as exclusive games, and I think that that's why it was easier for Toys for Bob to detach themselves from Microsoft, but then go into a partnership so Microsoft can say, hey, we'll give you guys the money for this, you guys will get this done, multi-platform publishing, we'll get money on all of that as well. So it's a like good deal all around. So we'll see if it's going to be Spyro. I think that'd be super cool. I do like the Spyro the Dragon games. I thought that the remaster or remake or the super remake remaster thingy was really good, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Toys for Bob has next for us. But we are going to move on to the next topic that I found absolutely hilarious. So the Neon Falcon president apparently wasn't aware that Nintendo was going to show the Trails in the Sky, the first remake, at the Nintendo Direct showcase. This is just too much. So at the Japanese press event, Neon Falcon president Toshihiro Kondo talked about the recently revealed The Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky, the first remake, which made its debut at the Nintendo Direct, which also shocked myself. They showed a little snippet of it. I'm like, wait a minute, what the heck is going on here? Now, he told members at the press event that he wasn't expecting the trailer to be featured at the event, so it came as a pleasant surprise to him, which is the keyword there, pleasant surprise to him and the team at Neon Falcon. Another thing that Mr. Kondo said is that he addressed comments online that the trailer looked too good to be a Neon Falcon title, and he went on to say that it's Neon Falcon 100%. 100% the company behind both the trailer and the game. So this is something that I also had a number of people come up to me and say, wait a minute, hold up here. Why are the graphics so good in this? This is potentially Switch 2. What's going on here? And you guys have to realize that when it comes down to stuff like this, especially like these anime games or games that are in this type of style, you get time and you get experience. And I think that one thing that Falcom does, and if you look at what they've done over the years, they have one platform that they are focusing on and that they are developing on, and they're taking a game and remaking it on this one platform. And I think that they're focusing all their effort, time, and resources. Clearly, this game was made with a bit more love and care and attention to some of the detail and criticisms that they have received in the past about their graphics. So it's something that they are absolutely listening to and saying, hey, we'll do our best. Now, I do think that that might come with some caveats. Like, let's say we're going to do Nintendo Switch only right now and then maybe later port it over so we have a lower development cost. We can recoup some of that and then get the ports going, but also because they can focus all in on one platform and take full advantage of that said platform, potentially even working with Nintendo to make sure that they know everything that they need to know about that platform to get it done. So I don't feel that it's too good for a Neon Falcon game or anything like that. The developers, they're smart people. They can figure extra things out, and they've had more time to develop on these HD systems. It's not like Falcom was making a ton of games for like PS3 and 360, and they have so many decades of support and development with HD games. They don't, not going to sit there and say that they don't have a lot of experience, because they do, but it's one of those things to where they're really focusing in, honing in, and making sure that this is a great entry point while taking back some of the criticism and feedback that people have gave to them over the years. So to me, yeah, this is Falcom. It's 100% them. They've already stated that it's in-house developed. They're not doing anything else. It's not Nintendo Switch 2, guys. It's the Switch 1. Switch 1 is clearly capable of the graphics that they put out there. It's not like it's, oh my gosh, it looks like some like 40 series graphics on the PC, Black Myth Wukong or something like that, right? So let's just all calm down and realize that, hey, it's a good looking game. It looks good, but it's not like it's something to where it couldn't be possible on the Nintendo Switch from a company that makes those styles of games. So what do you guys think about what Mr. Kondo had to say here? I found it hilarious that he didn't know about it, but hey, at the same time, man, like, I think it's good. That's good publicity. People watched and loved the Nintendo Directs. It's got a big boost. You had pretty much every single major Nintendo content creator and people talking about that on stream. So it's definitely a positive thing. That's why I said it's a pleasant surprise. You want your game to be featured there. All right, peeps, that's going to wrap it up for this video here. Thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're someone new, click that notification bell, and check out our other Nintendo Switch and RPG content right here on screen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace.